So what you see here is a standard 5/8 piece of all thread that's 3 feet long, a couple of corresponding nuts, and a washer. And I want to build a tail vise, but I want it to be out of stuff that's pretty common. The one thing I'm using that's not common is this. This is called a push button nut, and it's really quite a simple thing. You push this button, and I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's threads on the bottom here. When you push the button, it disengages those threads. When you release it, it engages them. So this is a quick look at the vise in action before we get started here. You simply push that button. You can push the little clamping piece down to wherever you want it, and then turn the knob or the handle to tighten it down. Now I wanted to make this project out of material I had in the shop, and it just so happened I had a little bit of oak laying around, so I'm using that. You could use other materials as well. And I'm creating a C kind of channel. It'll make sense here in a minute. What I'm doing is just creating this really simple channel for a piece to slide up and down in. And while I had that little C glued up, I went over to the table saw and cut 2 3/8" strips off of one of the pieces of oak. And then because I started this project at 10 o'clock this morning and I wanted it done and the video edited and everything up tonight, I didn't wait for the glue to dry. I came back and tapped some holes and ran some screws in to hold everything in place while the glue was drying. Now with that little C shape made, I cut a little piece off of each end of the tall sides there. What I'm doing is putting a little bed down in the center of it, and then adding those little 3/8 pieces I just cut to the side, and that's going to kind of capture a slide that we're going to build. And I just used some 23 gauge brad nails to tack those in place while the glue dries. Now off camera, I cut these 2 small pieces so they fit inside of that channel loosely. And then I used some paper on each side to kind of make sure that it would stay centered, that centerpiece would stay centered in there. And I'm just creating a mechanism that's going to slide up and down that channel we just built. Now with that little slide made, I took that over to the drill press, and I needed to drill out a 1.5 inch hole, and that's going to accept the push button nut we saw at the beginning of the video. And once that was done, I drilled through the rest of it. I drilled down a little ways with the 1.5" Forstner bit, and then I drilled through the rest of it all the way through the slide with a 3/4 inch paddle bit. Now with that done, I wanted to open up some area there for the push button. So when I put the push button nut in there, the push button will, move freely. It won't bind up on anything. So I cut away some material with a chisel and made sure everything was fitting right, and then added some screws to help lock that bolt or nut in place. Now my camera died here, and because I was in a hurry, I didn't wait for it to charge. So I cut the front and back pieces of this little mechanism while the camera was charging, and I put some bearings in each side. It's really not necessary. It could be just a 5/8 hole for wood, and just bolt, so the bolt would sit right on the wood. I had the bearings from my old project, so I used them. You could also use a bushing or something if you wanted to. So I tightened a nut down on that assembly, and then I tack welded it in place so that the nut would not move on the bolt. And then I added a piece of maple to the end. Now this is figured maple. You can't see it here. A gentleman contacted me he's got an eBay store. He's a college kid who's making his way through college by selling figured wood on eBay, and I'll put a link in the description box below. So I told him to send me some, and I'd give him a shout out. His name's Dustin, and I'll put links in the description box to his stuff. And when I got it, I was so impressed with it. It's hard to tell on the camera, but the figure is amazing on this. And I went and checked out his site. He's got some really quality stuff at great prices. So if you want to get some figured material, go check him out. Links in the description box below. And so that's pretty much it. I went and added a little button so you could didn't have to stick your finger in a hole on the tailstock there. And then I made this little handle off camera as well. And it's really a basic concept. The push button nut is really what makes this whole thing work. So with the handle on and the push button in place, I started testing it out, and I was really happy with the way it works. Now I'm going to do another video on this vise coming up soon. I'm going to add some dogs to the vise and a couple other neat little features that I think will be interesting enough to share. And at that point, I'll go ahead and put a finish on it. I'll talk more about the vise so you guys can get a better idea about how the whole thing went together. And but what I'm really happy with the way it turned out. You know, aside from the maple I got from Dustin, this was project probably cost $20. That push button was 12 something off of Amazon, and the rest of the hardware was really inexpensive at the local store. Again, I'll put links in the description box for the push button and other things that I used in this project if you'd like to try and make one yourself. But I will put plans out for this when the new website's done. Again, I'll put links for everything in the description box, and when you get a chance, come back and check out the next video I do on this with the dogs, and it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to have some neat features, I think. But having that little push button nut on there just makes this so much quicker to use than a typical tail vise. You can just push the button, slide that piece up wherever you want it, and then clamp your piece down. And it's been doing a really good job. Holds everything in place really, really well. Super fast. I'm really happy with it. So I apologize for the kind of chopped up video today, guys, but I wanted to get this done and out today because it is Freestyle Friday. I wanted to make sure I had something for you guys to watch. And I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'll have another video out on this vise here in a day or two. Thanks for watching.